Actually, we're on to the impact story. Excellent. Well, we'll do this fast. This was over Russia. Does this look familiar? This is a nighttime view, of course, so another large object coming in over Russia. It was caught on dash cams, of course. I feel like I should be singing the Russian techno.
Not quite as
awful.
big as the
The Chelyabinsk meteor? No, it wasn't nearly as big as that. So something smaller. We don't know if any of these got to the ground. But what's interesting about this is there seem to be a lot of impacts. And they're being picked up more. Is it just we have more cameras out there to see them? Probably. Well, there was a study that's been done recently, and they released the information about it. It was done by the Defense Department. We set up some ultrasonic sensors. In other words, they're measuring infrasound, so wavelengths that are too low for our ears to hear, frequencies too small. So ultra bass is a way to think of it. Well, if somebody set off a nuclear bomb, breaking the test ban treaty, it would send out one of these low frequency sounds, and we'd be able to pinpoint where that came from. So if we had set one off, the Russians would know. If the Russians had set one off, we would know. Everybody could check on everybody else. Well, something strange happened, and instead of us detecting nuclear explosions, they picked up these. And this data was just released by our Defense Department fairly recently. So these are all the impacts over the past decade or so, and these are the number of kilotons. So the bomb we dropped on Japan was, what, a 20 kiloton bomb, something like that? Yeah. So these have the same energy being deposited into our atmosphere as nuclear weapons. Wow. So this is a little bit crazy.
And how many of them are there?
We'll see a list here in just a minute. We're up to 2006. The one over Sudan that's coming up in 2009, I think, was predicted. None of the others did we see coming.
There we go.
So, yeah, so most of these just hit, and we have no clue they're coming at all. So what's going on here? Well, first of all, most do not reach. There's the Chelyabinsk one. Most do not reach the surface of the ground. These explosions are happening way up in the atmosphere. However, the Chelyabinsk one, if it had happened a little bit steeper of an angle, it might have made it down further. If you have one that's a little bit heavier content, more metals in it, it could make it down. If it's not as rocky, it could make it down. So these are things to worry about. And it says the number of city killers. So we're not talking about civilization-ending ones, but the size of one that came down. If it hits our city, you could destroy Los Angeles. That would be a really bad day. Sure.
Even Chelyabinsk injured 1,000 people.
Yeah, 1,000 people were injured, mostly the glass and things that was blown out. There's a foundation that is trying to raise money to put actually a satellite out there, and it's going to, will not be in orbit around the Earth, it'll be in orbit around the sun, and it's going to observe the direction out here. Yeah, it'll orbit the sun. It'll be closer in than the Earth is, but the idea here is a lot of these come from the sun direction. So if we're trying to find them with our telescopes, good luck. We're not going to see it coming. So if we send enough satellites out there, enough little telescopes, they can find these things coming. So they're going to call it Sentinel. They're trying to raise money. It's a private organization.
B612.
Yeah, B612 Foundation is their name. And they're the ones that released that last video to say, hey, this could be a problem. I think a little bit of it is fundraising, trying to raise money, but this is a real issue.
What do you think the reason is for it being kept so discreet for almost a decade?
It's not, well, they kept it discreet because this was Defense Department and they were monitoring nuclear weapon explosions.
And often, there's concern often with defense, things like that, capabilities. You don't want to let everybody know what you can know.
Yeah.
So,
so although this was part of the test ban treaty that these would be set up and we'd share the information with China and Russia and other signees of it, but nonetheless, like Tony said, our technological abilities and the ability to pinpoint where on Earth it is, the exact number of kilotons, all the rest, we don't want to let North Korea know that we know exactly what the size of their explosion was and whether it worked or not. We don't want to let Iran know or any of these other countries that might be setting it off. So it's all political. I don't know. They keep things secret sometimes that astronomers are actually using. We have infrared detectors to be able to measure heat radiation. Well, these are the same things that are inside missile cones and other things to be able to track aircraft and blow them up. So astronomers actually have to sign that they will not release any of this technology. They won't share it with other countries. They have to do all sorts of agreements just to be able to go take pictures in heat radiation and see glowing dust. We're not interested in anything else. So a lot of it is proprietary and shared by the defense industry and barely shared with astronomers.
Chelyabinsk came out of a rising sun. I think it was about 9 in the morning.
Yeah, that was in the morning indeed. So this is what the spacecraft would look like if it's out there floating in space. So something to keep an eye on, these foundations. And there it is, maybe over by an asteroid. If they sent something there to push it, they could have a little one that goes to it and gives it a little tug, a little gravity tractor, moves it out of the way so we're not smacked. Basic idea.